take this opportunity to welcome our Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, who is the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, our Director General, Dr. Phil Mjwaha, who has also joined us. And we have also invited, and I'm told that it might be possible for him to join, the Director General of the Department of Higher Education and Training, colleagues from the department, the other colleagues from government. We have a number of government departments that are represented, as well as the captains of industry. We are going to start this event, which really for us is a culmination of what appears to be a Chinese proverb, which says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And in this regard, when we reflect at what we are doing today, which is the launch of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, it is indeed an event that is celebrating a tree that was planted almost 20 years ago. And with those few words, I'm then going to hand over to Sizwe to see the journey that we have traveled in this regard in working on this society roadmap over the years from all our partners. This will be coming through by way of videos that's going to take us about 12 minutes, I understand. If you can just play that, and then we're going to go into the other aspects of the program.
The Institute for Strategic Reflection, MISTRA, would like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation on the approval by Cabinet and actual launch of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. This initiative is a significant milestone towards building a hydrogen economy in South Africa, the importance of which cannot be overstated. The roadmap provides South Africa with an opportunity to position hydrogen as the key fuel to assist the country on its decarbonization strategy, something the DSI has been championing for many years. And it will also position the country as a major player on a global scale. This is indeed a timeless initiative with major prospects for our country, the region, and the world at large. It has been a privilege for MISTRA to participate in this work. We are confident that the Hydrogen Society Roadmap will propel South Africa towards a resilient and thriving hydrogen economy. Congratulations.
The Hydrogen Society Roadmap is a national effort led by the Department of Science and Innovation in securing a clean, affordable and sustainable energy future for South Africa. As a signatory to the 2015 Paris Agreement, the country has committed to the reduction of carbon emissions in various areas of the economy. We believe hydrogen has the potential to help build a greener future, create jobs and stimulate investment. That is why we have been supporting the DSI on the Hydrogen Valley Feasibility Study and the Hydrogen Society Roadmap journey.
As the Central Energy Fund group of companies, we wish to congratulate the Department of Science and Technology for having pioneered the hydrogen economy initiatives long before it became fashionable. In our view, the DSI leadership cannot be overlooked given the resources and support they provided, especially towards policy and research and development. And in our view, the DSI is not being credited enough for, amongst others, its role in the creation of the tax incentive for broader research and development. This is an opportunity that is exploited by foreign companies and neglected by South African industry, which is regrettable. By 2050, pure hydrogen consumption could grow eightfold to about 540 million metric tons per year. globally, and that consumption would be driven mainly by transportation and industrial processes, mainly as a feedstock. Therefore, the significance of hydrogen development cannot be overemphasized. Congratulations, colleagues.
Impala Platinum congratulates the Department of Science and Innovation in leading the development of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap through a consultative process involving government, industry, and civil society. A zero-carbon hydrogen solution is one of the key evolving end uses for platinum group metals and an important part of the successful path to decarbonization, adding value not only to local communities, but global communities as well.
Hi, my name is Molefi Mutuku, the Chief Executive Officer of Mintech. Mintech applauds the launching of the National Hydrogen Society Roadmap with the objective of establishing hydrogen economy in South Africa. Mintech commits to building capability and capacity in South Africa to locally produce catalyst, manufacture electrode membrane assemblies, fuel stacks, and fuel cells in partnership with the private sector and the public sector. All this form the cornerstone of the hydrogen roadmap.
The CSR congratulates the Department of Science and Innovation for the hydrogen economy roadmap. There is no doubt that hydrogen will be one of the key and critical energy sources of the future. However, it is not just hydrogen, but blue and green hydrogen. South Africa is very well positioned to play a leading role in the development of clean hydrogen due to our abundant solar resources and strategic reserves of platinum, one of the key enablers of the hydrogen economy.
The launch of the HSRM is a momentous occasion. Informed by stakeholders in government, industry, and academia, it addresses South Africa's legacy of industrialization on the back of coal, minerals, and exploitative labor practices. Global interest in green hydrogen offers a major opportunity for South Africa and its abundant resources. UCT, co-host of HISA Catalysis, and our incredible cohort of researchers congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation for this tremendous achievement.
On behalf of SASL, I would like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation on the release of the landmark National Hydrogen Society Roadmap. This will underpin a sustainable hydrogen ecosystem in South Africa. SASL is committed to play a leading role in the country's future hydrogen economy. We are already hard at work with stakeholders on catalytic projects, such as our feasibility study into Buchu Bay as a green hydrogen hub. Others include the HiShift Sustainable Aviation Fuel project and exploring green hydrogen production centers around the country. Team SASL is committed to shaping a sustainable energy future for South Africa.
Northwest University plays a very important role in the development of the National Hydrogen South Africa roadmap, and we really want to congratulate the DSI for leading this process.
Greetings everyone, my name is Dumisa Gina. I'm General Manager Operations at Air Products. On behalf of Air Products, I'd like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation on Cabinet's approval of the National Hydrogen Society Roadmap. We at Air Products were very honored to be involved in the consultation phases and we endeavor to support the department going forward. I'd like to say big congratulations and wish you all the best in this project. Thank you.
My name is Mashudu Romano, founder of Mitochondria Energy Group. The development of a hydrogen society in South Africa is one of the most significant developments of post-apartheid South Africa, which promises to transform our society and its economy while mitigating the challenge of climate change. Mitochondria Energy Company has has been advocating for this development for over a decade now, and in support of this vision, we are building a Hydrogen Valley Innovation Hub in the Vaal region of Gauteng, supported by a number of government departments, the IDC and the DBSA.
On behalf of Eskom, I would like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation on the development of the National Hydrogen Society Roadmap. This paves the way for the growth and adoption of hydrogen energy in South Africa. Hydrogen, in particular green hydrogen, represents an opportunity for future energy ecosystems. This enhances our decarbonization efforts and will contribute to mitigating the impact of climate change. As South Africa's key energy player, Eskom is pleased to have played a part in stakeholder consultation processes. We look forward to participating in future activities. Eskom is committed to creating an enabling environment for integration of hydrogen technologies into the electricity value chain. We wish the Department of Science and Innovation all the best with achieving the objectives of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap.
We at Bambili Energy would like to congratulate Minister Nzimande and his team at the DSI for the development of the policy for the hydrogen economy in South Africa. This policy really reflects the important work and foundation that the department has been working on for over 10 years in terms of funding the intellectual development in South Africa for the hydrogen economy through bursaries and through supporting students. The work that the department has also done in terms of demonstrating technologies that use hydrogen, as well as funding intellectual property for the manufacturing of products that use hydrogen.
On behalf of the University of the Western Cape, I would like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation for developing a sustainable hydrogen ecosystem and driving the agenda for hydrogen economy in South Africa. Connecting possibilities and partnerships will result in successful execution of this strategy that will lead to the much-needed skills development, job creation, and value add to the country's vast resources, particularly minerals and renewables. In doing that, we can also enhance our energy security and cut emissions. UWC is committed to supporting the drive of HySA. So congratulations and looking forward to working together in the future.
ENGIE strongly supports the 2022 publication of the South African Hydrogen Society Roadmap. ENGIE believes that renewable hydrogen has a key role to play towards the zero-carbon transition and sees it as the missing link to unlock the full potential of renewables and carbon-free energy solutions. ENGIE has already taken actions to develop the country's hydrogen economy at scale through renewable hydrogen solutions dedicated to the mining industry and our involvement in the South African Hydrogen Valley. ENGIE is grateful to the South African government for the invitation to participate to the roadmap's development process. Thank you very much.
My name is Bitumelo Mohwase and I am currently a postdoctoral fellow here at the HySA Infrastructure Center of Competence, Faculty of Engineering. I am grateful for HySA and the DSI who invested in my career since my master's degree in chemistry. I have since had the opportunity to finish my PhD and now involved in the transition towards green economy or the so-called hydrogen economy. I am thankful to be in HySA as I am contributing towards decarbonization. So far so good, hydrogen is on the move.
Thank you so much, the colleagues, for putting these videos together. And as you have seen, we have concluded these videos with the flashing of the pictures and some background of two individuals who have been quite involved in this work. The former CEO of Toyota who passed away, together with Dr. Minej Bipeth, who was working on this program at the Secretariat in Sanedi. And unfortunately, both of them have succumbed to the pandemic that we're busy dealing with. And we want to say that although they are gone, we continue to reap the rewards of their hard work over the years. And may their soul rest forever in peace. I'm then going to take this opportunity to move to the next step. I think we have had the message of congratulations. And basically, we want to say all this work has really been an outcome of the great political leadership that we have. And at this point in time, I really want to introduce our Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, to come and effectively do what we are here for, which is the launch of the roadmap. And after the speeches and the presentations, we'll give a sense of where you can find the actual document. But at this point in time, Minister, this is your opportunity to then officially unwrap the document that encompasses the actual activities that are still coming, work that has been done, and what direction we need to go to and who's going to be involved. Minister, this is your platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Dr. Mboneni Mope, the DG of the Department of Science and Innovation, Dr. Philip Jwaha, the Economic Advisor to the South African President, Ms. Trudy Makaya, my special advisors, the private sector representatives here, government officials, academia, civil society, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, let me say thank you very much for those wonderful messages and words of encouragement from a variety of very important participants in this journey of Hydrogen South Africa. I'm grateful to be joining you this afternoon on this occasion of the launch of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. We are holding this important launch of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap at a time when our country, and indeed the world, I dare say, are faced with the fourfold challenges of, firstly, the COVID-19 pandemic, secondly, persisting and stubborn economic crises and its associated challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, thirdly, the crises facing poor families, households, and communities struggling to make ends meet, and fourthly, climate change. This launch also takes place at a time when South Africa is also focusing on extraordinary measures of economic recovery and reconstruction to achieve inclusive growth following the devastation brought about by COVID-19. Indeed, the depth of the crisis caused by the pandemic has sharpened our resolve to rededicate ourselves to address our massive socio-economic challenges. At the center of our Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, led by President Ramaphosa, is the creation of sustainable jobs and livelihoods. Our determination is to get our people back into the jobs they lost during the pandemic and also create new ones. This means that we want to broaden the participation of all South Africans in an inclusive economy. As government, we are determined to create an environment which encourages investment, the creation of employment and skills needed for our economic growth and development. I therefore view the launch of Hydrogen Society Roadmap as amongst the critical and leading instruments towards our economic recovery and developing our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African hydrogen economy journey started in 2007 when Cabinet approved the National Hydrogen and Fuel Cells Research, Development and Innovation Strategy, HYSA strategy. This strategy is currently implemented by the Department of Science and Innovation, the DSI, through the 15-year Hydrogen South Africa program. The HISA program, now on its 13th year of implementation, has made a significant contribution towards the creation of a hydrogen economy in our country. This has been achieved through the creation of knowledge, technological expertise, and human resources development. During the 2019-2020 financial year, the HISA program underwent its second 5-year review, which recommended the development of an overarching hydrogen society roadmap. In September 2020, the DSI initiated a process to develop this roadmap in collaboration with key and relevant departments, as well as the private sector and civil society, including academia, through a consultative process which culminated in a stakeholder collaboration workshop held on the 14th of July, 2021. This led to the cabinet approval of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap on the 14th of September, 2021. The implementation of this roadmap is expected to support inclusive growth and assist government to reduce unemployment, poverty, and inequality. In South Africa, hydrogen is extensively used in the chemical and fuel refining sectors, but it is currently produced mainly from non-renewable sources, such as coal and natural gas. What is, of course, concerning is that hydrogen and fuel cell technologies are currently used in very few industrial activities in our country. However, the use of hydrogen and fuel cell technologies is likely to expand significantly in future, driven by both mobile and stationary applications, as well as its use in industrial processes such as ammonia and steel production. In addition to the renewable resources and available land to build the required renewable energy plants, South Africa has a comparative advantage in that our country is home to 75% of the world reserves of the platinum group metals. The platinum group metals such as platinum, ruthenium, and iridium are key components in fuel cell, catalysts, and electrolyzers for green hydrogen production. In addition, South Africa has a unique and patented Fischer-Tropsch process owned by Sasol, which gives South Africa a competitive edge in the production of liquid fuels based on the hydrogen production route. Opportunities exist indeed for direct replacement of the hydrogen from natural gas by green hydrogen. For example, with the existing gas-to-liquids facility operated by PetroSA, as well as the existing port infrastructure located from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast of our country, this basic infrastructure can be modified and expanded to supply hydrogen into the domestic and international markets. South Africa currently produces 2% of the global demand for hydrogen, mostly made from natural gas by Sasol. Given the projected global demand for green hydrogen, South Africa has the opportunity to convert its current global supply to green hydrogen and the potential to increase the country's share of the green hydrogen market. One, by the way, also hopes that over and above this, South Africa will not just narrowly be the developer and user of hydrogen energy, but it will also provide and contribute to scientific thought leadership in South Africa and globally. As a country, South Africa has good trading relations with the countries that are looking to import green hydrogen. These include the European Union, broadly, and Germany in particular, as well as Japan, South Korea, and China. According to the recently launched South African Hydrogen Valley Feasibility Study report, the average cost of green hydrogen will be around $4 per kilogram by 2030 along the Platinum Valley corridor, representing a green premium, I must say, of US dollars 2 to 2.5 per kilogram above gray hydrogen produced from natural gas. The Platinum Valley corridor starts from Anglo-American Platinum's Mogalakwena mine in Limpopo through Pretoria and Johannesburg down to eThekwini, crossing through the N1 and the N3. It is expected that by implementing the catalytic projects identified in the South African Hydrogen Valley Feasibility Study report, the green premium could be lowered to enable green hydrogen to be at parity with gray hydrogen. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of developing the roadmap, the Department of Science and Innovation, in collaboration with other stakeholders, identified projects or studies that will be implemented in parallel to kickstart the development of the hydrogen industry in South Africa. For instance, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition is developing a national green hydrogen commercialization strategy that will give confidence to investors that South Africa is indeed a destination for investment in the hydrogen economy. The following catalytic projects have been identified as key to kickstarting the implementation of the roadmap. The Platinum Valley. The department's Hydrogen Valley partnership with Anglo-American, Bambili Energy, and Engie is an example of leveraging investments made in the Hydrogen South Africa program to create mechanisms for the uptake of publicly financed intellectual property and supporting small, medium, and micro enterprises. Estimates place the potential gross domestic product impact, direct and indirect, of hydrogen projects in the country at $3.9 billion to $8.8 billion if the full vision of the Hydrogen Valley is realized. This project is estimated that it could bring an additional $900 million to $2 trillion in tax revenue into South Africa's coffers by 2050. The DSI also commissioned a joint study with the Limpopo Economic Development Agency on the role of hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cells to power data centers that will be installed at the Limpopo Science and Technology Park. While the use of diesel generators to power data centers is the standard practice, recently the move towards stationary fuel cells for uninterrupted power supply has gained momentum. The Coal CO2 XRDI program aims to use renewable or green hydrogen and pollutants contained in the flue gas from coal-fired boilers to make value-added products that can support the transition to a decarbonized energy system and assist the country to meet its emission reduction goals while also ensuring a just energy transition. Indeed, this would be a very important use of coal that is still in abundance in South Africa as a way also of capturing this flue gas. To date, the DSI has provided 50 million rands to kickstart the Coal CO2 XRDI program and is looking to demonstrate the flue gas conversion technology at a cement plant in collaboration with PPC Cement. We also hope this investment by government will also attract other forms of investment, including from the private sector. To ensure that the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap is successful, a monitoring, evaluation, and learning framework has been drafted to provide the means to monitor progress and evaluate performance. A detailed monitoring, evaluation, and learning framework document, together with some baseline data, I am pleased to say is expected to be completed by April this year. South Africa's geography with wide open spaces, coupled with port infrastructure, creates the environment for ensuring that hydrogen and ammonia produced with renewables can be readily shipped to other countries in the world. This hydrogen society roadmap identifies the following high-level outcomes for the South African hydrogen economy, which I'll touch on very briefly. Firstly, the creation of an export market for green hydrogen and ammonia. In this regard, a key outcome of this hydrogen society roadmap is the creation, or should be the creation, of an export market for the South African green hydrogen. The demand from international buyers for the South African green hydrogen will be determined, of course, by cost competitiveness, confidence in the South African hydrogen market, and an enabling export infrastructure. The second outcome is that of green and enhanced power and building sector. In this regard, hydrogen is capable of contributing to the achievement of a decarbonized and enhanced power sector by providing renewable energy storage and green power to the main electricity grid, thus improving overall grid stability. Thirdly, is the decarbonization of heavy-duty transport. In this regard, the Hydrogen Society Roadmap will support the objective of decarbonization of transport by 2050. The initial focus will be road transport, which accounts for the majority of transport emissions and where the technology is most developed to use hydrogen to power heavy-duty vehicles. Rail, shipping, and aviation will be addressed in the medium term, 2025 to 2030. Of course, this does not mean that government will abandon, but government seeks to strengthen its strategy from shifting both passengers and goods from road to rail. So this will be an important partner in that regard. The fourth initiative or outcome would be that of the decarbonization of energy-intensive industry. We support the decarbonization through this of industry by 2050, and the initial focus will be on steel, mining, chemicals, refineries, and cement sectors, which together account for the majority of energy used in industry. The fifth outcome is local manufacturing of hydrogen products and fuel cell components. In this regard, the establishment of a manufacturing sector for hydrogen products and components is seen to be a key outcome for this hydrogen society roadmap, which also is very important in terms of our objective of re-industrializing our country, but in line with modern technologies and demands for mitigation of climate change, for instance. The manufacturing sector will support the transition from internal combustion engine to electric vehicle manufacturing, produce products for export, and will also contribute to the beneficiation of South African minerals through the supply of value-added components in the hydrogen value chain. In addition, the Hydrogen Society Roadmap identifies the production, storage, and distribution of hydrogen, research, development, and innovation, as well as promote gender equality and social inclusion generally as important cross-cutters within the hydrogen economy. In other words, hydrogen economy in itself, much as it would benefit from research, development, and innovation, it will also act as a further driver to more investment in research, development, and innovation. More importantly, these are areas where potential interface could be explored to create a truly inclusive hydrogen economy for the country. Indeed, I'm also even inspired already that at this launch, it represents the kind of inclusivity that we need in this regard. So what are the next steps? Today we are here to celebrate, but with an understanding that hard work lies ahead of us. The Director General, Dr. Mjwara, in his presentation will highlight key actions that have been identified by stakeholders. This Hydrogen Society Roadmap articulates the role that all stakeholders, comprising, of course, of government, industry, academia, and civil society, are expected to play in implementing the action plan. Stakeholders will be expected to mobilize resources through partnerships and create an ecosystem where investment decisions can be made to unlock the socio-economic benefits that can accrue through the integration of hydrogen and fuel cell technologies in various sectors of the economy. Given the complex and extensive requirements for the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, it will be enabled by a team of experts from across industries, state-owned enterprises, academia, and government that have been assembled to ensure that the identified key actions that the DG will talk about are completed as soon as possible so that we create an enabling environment for investment. We have also established, I'm pleased to say, a partnership with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, that will assist with creating an agile, effective, and relevant National Hydrogen Energy Center that will institutionalize the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. UNIDO has been working with governments, business associations, and companies to solve industrial problems for more than 50 years, earning a reputation as the world's most experienced industrial problem solver, as well as a neutral and honest broker in promoting cooperation and coordination among countries around the world. UNIDO is fully committed to contributing to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, in particular Goal 9, which focuses on infrastructure, industry, and innovation. As South Africa, we joined UNIDO as a member state on the 24th of October 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, if South Africa fully implements this Hydrogen Society Roadmap, within a few years, at least 20,000 new jobs will be created in South Africa as part of the adoption of the hydrogen economy. My Department of Science and Innovation, together with my other Department of Higher Education and Training, are working together to scale up training and reskilling programs across South Africa to ensure that the requisite infrastructure, curriculum, and lecturers are in place to educate the next generation of employees and participants for the hydrogen economy. I would like in particular here to invite the private sector to partner with us in training and producing the necessary employees and specialists by providing workplace exposure for purposes of creating the kind of a participant or employee we need to grow our hydrogen economy. The Department of Science and Innovation is working with the private sector partners to develop updated research development and innovation strategy that will support the aspirations to have a vibrant domestic manufacturing sector for fuel cell components. A number of memoranda of understanding have already been signed with leading energy companies, both in the private and state-owned, to co-fund and co-create future technologies for the hydrogen economy. In closing, let me first thank our Director General, Dr. Mjwaba, for ensuring that the officials of the department, as well as other members of the National System of Innovation, have worked to ensure the successful implementation of the Hydrogen South Africa strategy. They have ensured that through the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, we have leveled up our efforts to the full participation of the private sector, other government departments, civil society, and academia in securing a clean, affordable, and sustainable energy future for South Africa. I also want to use this occasion to express my gratitude to all of you. Each and every one of you who is participating today and who is part of this important occasion. Really appreciate that. I want to assure you today that government will continue to create an enabling environment for the implementation of the roadmap. We will also focus on more attention on shovel-ready projects, such as those identified with the Platinum Valley Initiative. We have a huge task ahead, but the level of commitment that we have thus far demonstrated gives me confidence that there is no challenge that will be insurmountable on our journey to a hydrogen economy in our country. As the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, I therefore launch officially today the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, and thank you very much.
Okay, no, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm going to just give you the high-level outcomes of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, and trying not to replicate anything the minister has said. So, I mean, just for the point of, just starting point, really the vision of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap is an inclusive, sustainable, and competitive hydrogen economy by 2050. And I think we're really emphasizing the issue of inclusivity by ensuring that when we achieve our goals, that we move towards a just, inclusive, net zero carbon economic growth for societal well-being by 2050. And really the purpose of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap was really to look around, make sure that all stakeholders coming together around a common vision was the first role, but then really ensuring that we're moving towards a hydrogen economy, ensuring that we can unlock social economic benefits for the entire country. So in terms of the subcomponents, we felt that the high-level Hydrogen Society Roadmap really it can be a very academic exercise. However, it was important for us to do what we call deep dives to really look at areas where we can kickstart our economy. So one was looking at issues of just transition, looking at the Coal CO to the X program, making sure that, abatement of technologies to increase the demand for green hydrogen could be enabler. Again, the one issue was really around the just labor transition, looking at the TVET college system as critical to that to that transition, and then the Platinum Valley work that we did. Now, we've spoken about the stakeholder engagement process, but what I want to emphasize is that the stakeholder engagement process is very extensive. We brought in stakeholders from across industry, private sector, academia, and also in some cases we got with really non-traditional stakeholders to make sure that their voices were heard in the discussions. It culminated with a collaboration workshop where we had over close to 100 stakeholders, some international, some local, and then, like I say, a really important milestone was really getting the document approved by cabinet for public release. And then the culmination of that to some extent was the launch of a feasibility study in partnership with private sector. This was Anglo, Bambili, Anji, looking at those 9 catalytic projects that we could focus on. Now, in terms of the high level outcomes, I think it's important to note that this is a very extensive process, but for each of the high level outcomes, there are going to be lead departments and supporting departments. So, the first one, which is looking at the Decarbonization of Transport. Of course, Department of Transport is your lead department, but followed by support with DFFE, DMRE, and DPE, or Department of Public Enterprise. Second outcomes, looking at decarbonization of intensive energy, the DTIC would lead that, followed by support of the Department of Forestry, Fishery, and Environment. Third high-level outcome is really looking at a creation of an export market for green hydrogen and ammonia, and also other derivatives of hydrogen. DTIC would be the lead on this, but really supported by the Department of International, DERCO, and National Treasury, because essentially our officials living in other countries are really at the coalface of the discussions around this opportunity. Green Enhanced Power System is really looking at how do you scale up solar, wind, but with the view that long-term storage could be a way of enabling a higher penetration of solar, but also looking at the building sector. So DMRE, or Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, followed and supported by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. The fifth outcome is really looking at the creation of a manufacturing sector for hydrogen products and components. And I think it's really important that if we're going to realize the full opportunity for jobs, really local manufacturing will be key to this, really against the point of looking at our PGMs and beneficiation. DSI leading that process, but of course supported by our sister department, DTIC, DMRE, and Department of Small Business Development. And last but not least, looking at moving hydrogen from a gas to an energy vector. And that really talks to the point that the ease of use, the cost being at parity are really critical. So because it's such a complex undertaking, the lead department of that is presidency, and then of course supported by key departments like DSI, DMRE, DTIC, DERCO, DFFE, DPE, and DPWI. So I think the heart of the, we've talked about these actions. And I think it was important to take these 70 key actions. Now it's important that these are not expected to be done in the next 3 years, but they're really spanning over over the next 10 years. Most of the actions are expected to occur within the next 36 months. And really, the Department of the Carbonization of Transport has the least action at 8. Decarbonization of energy intensive industry also has 8. And what we thought to do is really to classify the actions in the key sectors. So that really tells you which sectors have the most effort to move into the right direction. Now, this just gives you a snapshot of some of the actions, some of the top 3 actions for each of those sectors. So in terms of decarbonization of transport, really the first step is to classify your hydrogen as transport fuel. That's how we're going to get the heavy duty trucks onto the road, how we're going to get buses onto the road, over and above just having demonstrations. Secondly, making sure that the regulatory environment in the transport sector really will support. And I think scaling up buses, heavy good vehicles and taxis through refueling, with refueling stations will be critical to really increase the demand for hydrogen in the transport sector. Energy intensive industry, really the steel master plan that is being developed needs to be aligned with the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. This is critical because we think the steel industry could be one of the first off-takers of green hydrogen. And this is actually ensuring that the green steel that will come out could be at parity with gray steel within years. And then really industrial or feasibility studies around industrial hubs as the first adopters of green hydrogen for use. And then export market, very important. The first step is really looking at market analysis around where the obstacles and gaps. And then secondly, really looking at our existing international partnerships with key countries willing to purchase hydrogen from us. In terms of enhanced power sector, really continuing the pilots that we've been doing for the last 10 years, but with a view to make sure that they are going to be affordable. I'm going to go really quickly. Center of Excellence in Manufacturing, really the minerals beneficiation master plan that the DMRE is developing will be critical to giving us the key direction we should go, especially with the beneficiation of PGMs, but then also really developing a manufacturing strategy with the automobile master plan is critical because we expect transport to be one of the first sectors for scale up of hydrogen fuel cell technologies. And then last but not least, transition from gray to blue to green hydrogen. Finalization of the green hydrogen commercialization strategy by the DTIC will be really critical to this. And then really focusing on those catalytic projects, getting those shovel-ready projects up and running. And last but not least, gazetting a strategic or integrated strategic infrastructure project on hydrogen will be really key to reducing the time lag for legislative and policy processes involved with shovel-ready projects. I just want to take a step or a moment to really reflect here. So we did an analysis looking at the breakdown amongst the different outcomes, but we also did an analysis looking at the 5 pillars of policy support that are required to actually scale up hydrogen. This is both domestically and across the world. Looking at best practice by the International Energy Agency, again, there's 5 dimensions. So establishing targets and signals. So having a hydrogen society roadmap is the first step, or the first part of the pillar in terms of giving signals to industry and SOEs, as well as your partners internationally, that this is the future that we're looking for South Africa. Supporting demand creation is extremely important. You can produce hydrogen, but if you don't have economies of scale, if you don't have large demand for it, your costs are not going to fall to the levels that the minister communicated in the speech he gave. Mitigating investment risk. And part of this is by making sure that your demand can be, across different stakeholders, can be aggregated to share infrastructure. And then the 4th pillar is really RDI, research, development, innovation, strategic demonstration projects, and knowledge sharing. So the issues of public awareness are so critical to ensure that everyone understands the benefits of hydrogen, but also everyone can benefit from the opportunity equally. So making sure that youth and women are really at front and center of this transition. And last but not least, I can't overemphasize the the importance of harmonizing standards and removing barriers. And this is just not harmonizing standards at the domestic level, but actually harmonizing standards internationally so that you can do, so that the products that we manufacture here can be sold abroad, but also that proper tech transfer can happen seamlessly. And this is just at a high level, how the key actions were identified within the different areas. And if you notice, most of the key actions are really around establishing targets, and this is really policy development to give proper, strong signals to the private sector of what South Africa's intentions are. And then I just wanted to do a deep dive into the RDI, the strategic projects and skills development. Again, one of the first steps we're going to take is to revise the RDI strategy to support the Hydrogen Society roadmap. But then I think in terms of the catalytic projects, in order for the Hydrogen Society roadmap to have true impact on supporting the economic reconstruction recovery plan of South Africa, those shovel-ready projects have to get up and running, and not within years, but within months. And we need to do what we can as government to ensure that this happens. And then last but not least, I cannot overemphasize the importance of skills development to make sure that this will have inclusive growth, but also ensuring that different stakeholders understand the importance of the benefits of hydrogen. And last but not least, looking at gender equality and social inclusion, each and every one of the key actions was assessed against its role in gender equality and social inclusion. And really part of what we're going to be doing is looking at the proposed targets, ensuring that women and youth can benefit from the green hydrogen value chains, looking to make sure that skills development and awareness are targeted towards women and youth, and recruiting youth and women in our RDI initiatives, and ensuring that we have proper representation. Now, in a snapshot, if we were to implement everything that we're promising today, you're going to see by the end of 2024, at least 1 megawatt of green hydrogen produced. This will be in Northern Cape. If we continue on the same path, that 1 gigawatt will move to about 10 gigawatts by the end of 2030 and a minimum of 15 gigawatts by 2040. So this will be a key enabler for localization, manufacturing of solar and wind technologies, but also for green hydrogen, the catalyst development. If we're looking at use, we're looking at early stage in the next 3 to 4 years, looking at demonstrations, at least 100 buses on the road by 2025. And this is possible even at the current cost we're looking at least 500 by 2030. And then by 2030 to 2040, we're really looking at sector coupling. So really scaling up your demand for hydrogen by coupling your demand for transport industry, as well as mobility altogether. And really, I can't overemphasize the importance of jobs. So we're not necessarily looking for jobs now, but we're ensuring that we need to scale up training, reskill for just transition, so that the jobs which will be realized by 2030, which is 20,000 jobs per annum, will be taken up by youth, women, as well as South Africans. So in closing, we embarked upon this journey because the question is, should we take this opportunity? And it's very clear. South Africa should leverage the hydrogen opportunity as part of our economic reconstruction and recovery plan for South Africa. I think it's important to do this, this will help us to rebrand South Africa as a destination for sustainable investment that incorporates environmental, social, and good governance principles. Again, gender equality and social inclusion are at the core of the transition, tackling the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. This has always been at the front and center of all key policies for South Africa. And the Hydrogen Society roadmap will be no different as we take our tone from our national development plan, as well as other key policies. Part of this requires building stronger partnerships with government, private sector, and civil society. And I think today's launch is part of that process to build stronger partnerships. Of course, we can't forget where we started from. Hydrogen South Africa has been here for over 15 years, close to 15 years. And really, we need to leverage the opportunities, the capabilities, and the coherence that has been created by this program. And very last but not least, international partnerships are key. I saw the chat that there's quite a few people internationally and domestically here in today's meeting. And really, it's critical to know that while we want partnerships, national interests should be clearly articulated and protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. The presentation ends with some of the products that are powered with hydrogen fuel cells, locally developed technology. So thank you very much. I also need to indicate here that the DG has joined us. I don't know, DG, if you want to say anything before we go to question and answer session.
No, not really, Dr. Mope. I'll pick up on the Q&A, and thanks to Rebecca for coming in for me. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks very much. So we have now come to the Q&A part. There are various ways in which you can ask questions. One of them is to use the chat, or the other one is to raise your hand. And the colleagues will also help me in terms of picking up those hands that I may perhaps not be able to. So this is it. You have seen that we have deliberately made sure that we find a way of measuring ourselves as we go forward. So this is really not a wishy-washy document. We've got a clear indication of where we want to be by when. I see there is a hand by Jawad Shabodin and the one by Monteverde Hakonsen. So in that order. Okay, Muzim Kize.
Thank
Muzi, we heard you and then you failed. You actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, Program Director, and thanks for all the speeches and presentations made thus far. Dr. Maseremula, I would just like to get an understanding. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I just want to get an understanding in terms of positioning this hydrogen in the development as well as the roadmap, because in the roadmap, there are certain key points that mark certain achievement, key milestones. If in the presentation that the timelines could be also included in terms of positioning things accordingly. Because if you look at the energy, the broader energy space, once you've got a certain intervention, it then affects the decisions in other energy the energy carriers that we have in terms of impacting them. I would just like to know where is the bigger picture of energy space of the country being visited to kind of form a holistic viewpoint so that the decisions in other in other disciplines are taken, take this hydrogen into consideration. I just would like to get what kind of interventions are being made in that regard. Thank you.
Thanks very much. We've got Dr. Scapello, we got Mark Gordon, we got Suntarin Pillay in that order, and then we'll take a few hands before we go to deal with the answers.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy, and I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
First off, I'd like to congratulate the Department of Science and Innovation on this very important roadmap. And as a CSIR, Smart Pace, we are looking forward to really collaborating with the department into bringing it into reality. Two issues. The first one was in a slide where there was a list of demonstration projects. Perhaps a question there would be, what was the basis of the choice of the demonstration projects? Perhaps maybe they've been selected to demonstrate certain key elements of the hydrogen value chain. I don't know. The second one in terms of the timelines that were indicated and the various milestones indicated in those timelines, has there been some kind of an anticipation of what the hydrogen consumption estimated, say locally? And I know that the strategy or like the roadmap is also looking into satisfying international customers, but locally, has it been mapped in terms of the hydrogen demand in South Africa over the 3 periods that have been indicated? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. May I proceed?
Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you. The name is Mark Gordon. I'm from Ubuntu Hydrogen. The question, Program Director, and firstly, allow me to congratulate the Minister and the team there for an excellent presentation and the excellent launch of this hydrogen roadmap. I just want to find out, Program Director, in terms of support to municipalities, either local government or provinces, in terms of a hydrogen economy that really starts ticking a lot of boxes. And in this context, I want to raise the opportunity where, we have piloted a project in the Tikweni region with producing hydrogen from raw sewage. And it shows how we can really address the issue of pollution, energy security, and the just transition issue together with, climate proofing of all of these sewage works around the country that really could be a very good climate offset program for the country. I just want to find out at what stage in the value chain really there would be some kind of support to municipalities in terms of, the climate mitigation program. We think that, addressing the pollution problem with sewage in our rivers and in the environment could do a lot of good at the same time, producing electricity and addressing the energy security challenge in South Africa. And we are aware from the recent announcements coming out of COP26, the availability of climate financing for such mitigation opportunities. I just want to find out, would there be support to municipalities going forward? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. We're going to take Sunteren Pillay and Mandila K, and then we'll go to Ayanda and Mahomet, and then we can get the first round dealt with.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi. Firstly, thank you and congratulations to the Minister and the DSI. Hydrogen is long overdue in South Africa. I just want to reiterate, Mark Gordon, my partner, spoke. We at UPS, which is Ubuntu People's Powered Solution, have been doing hydrogen now since about 2012 from about wastewater. And we like the fact that hydrogen is been emphasized from other sources, but we mustn't forget the green friendly solutions, which is converting our waste into hydrogen. There's huge opportunities in South Africa that we can, like Mark said, that we can sort 2 issues out at one stage. A, our waste problems, and B, the production of waste to hydrogen and that hydrogen into power solutions. Because we must also remember one of the biggest consumers of electricity in municipalities, 60% of their power is consumed by the wastewater works. And using hydrogen to their own hydrogen to take care of the electric demands would ease the burden on our country. And like Mark said, we just want to know what sort of support are we going to get from government for these environmentally friendly solutions to that promote hydrogen production in our country. Thank you.
Okay. Mandila K.
Okay, hi, Program Director. So first, I'd like to congratulate the DSI for this milestone. I think it was really overdue. Quickly, my question, I'm currently an honors student doing energy studies with the UJ University. So my research topic focuses on green hydrogen. So what I would like to know is what kind of skill sets that will be required to, while we transition from gray, blue to green, because we want to close the gap of job that is that is lacking in our country. So we don't want to quickly transition while we leave behind the skill set. And the second one, what kind of framework that will be developed in order to, for these green hydrogen skills? Is DSI going to leave this to the private sector, or there is a program that will be developed for skill sets? Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Ayanda, Mahomet, and then we go to responses, and then we can take hopefully what will be the last round.
Thank you. Can I assume that you can hear me, Program Director?
Very clearly.
Thank you very much. So this is Ayanda from Toyota. Firstly, thank you very much to Program Director and the Minister, and Rebecca also for just sharing what is currently happening. I just have two questions that maybe one of them may solve some of the questions that have been asked. Is there a potential of mapping out the hydrogen ecosystem that shows, from production to manufacturing to transport, storage, and after use, that may show what are the potentials for collaboration, I think, and support that we can get? Maybe that is a potential in the plan to show that. It's a suggestion, not really a question. And then secondly, has there been any OEM engagement, with regards to this roadmap? Is there a plan to engage with the OEMs with regards to how, I think the OEMs also have some plans about, how to go forward with hydrogen. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you very much.
Mahomet.
Hi, thanks. So firstly, congratulations to the department on the release of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. It certainly is the start of our policy journey, and hopefully one that embarks us on a fruitful green hydrogen journey in this country in developing the value chain. My question relates to, we always hear when it comes to policy making in South Africa, the need for policy coordination between different government departments and different projects. So specifically on the just transition element, to what extent has the process so far in the development of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap linked with the efforts of the Presidential Climate Commission, for example, that's currently developing its framework for just transition in South Africa? And so I guess my question is, to what extent is there alignment between these processes? Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. So we're going to deal with these questions and then we continue with the next round. I need to also say upfront that some of the questions you would see when you have access to the document that they've been answered in terms of what the document provides for and the details and the level of coordination. So that will probably be solved by that document. But for now, let me just ask Rebecca to come in first, and then if there's anything I need to add, I'll do so, and then our DG will wrap up, and then we go to the next round. That's if some of the questions remain unanswered. Rebecca?
Okay. No, thanks, DDG. I'll also be bringing in Dr. Cosmas Chiteme to also answer some questions that I may miss. I'm going to start with Ms. McKeezy's question around how do we, the issue around, is there an energy holistic point of view, like a policy that speaks to, the interlinkages between hydrogen and other energy carriers, and also in terms of the energy space and interventions, and the full understanding of how energy carriers are used, how we deal with that. So I'd like to start by saying, first of all, I would say hydrogen is the lightest elements, but also at the same time is one of the most versatile energy carriers and globally. So you can use it within, that's why the outcomes range from transport to industry, to buildings, power sector for long-term storage. And in part, what we're doing is informed by the IRP 2019, is informed by other policies of government that talk to the decarbonization pathways for South Africa, and the evidence base that was fed into it was shared from government, private sector. So we extensively, through the engagement process, we extensively took inputs that shaped the work that we're doing. Of course, that work, we did techno-economic analysis and modeling work that also was at the base of what we came up with. But then also in addition to that, it was also fed by what stakeholders believed could be the key actions that should be taken. So in terms of what you're asking for, I think our policies around how hydrogen can play an integral role in the energy system of South Africa and our role in the global hydrogen system. But I think an overarching policy around energy carriers is probably within the guise or the responsibility or mandate of the DMRE. In terms of Dr. Seklapo, in terms of what is the basis of the choice of demonstration projects, we took a premise that when we did the stakeholder engagement process, we used a round table. And for those of us who pass high school math, we understand that a circle is everything, every edge of the circle is equal distance from the center, which means that every voice we felt at this point in time was equal. So different stakeholders put forward projects. So we had spoken to Northern Cape. They put forward the Bugabai, that's being led by the Prisco Reserve, which is, we actually have a Black woman CEO leading that. We received projects from SASO, we received projects from Anglo, from Bambili, we received projects from different stakeholders. So we didn't choose to say something could not go into the study. We just said, we just synthesized it so that everyone is aware of the catalytic projects that people are thinking about. And most of those catalytic projects were actually underpinned by extensive techno-economic analysis. Like for instance, the Platinum Valley Initiative, I think there were close to 65 stakeholders that actually fed into that process. The process around Bugabai, again, they had extensive stakeholder engagement. So I think we were just taking the synergy, we're basically, Hydrogen Society Roadmap is synergizing the different studies and work that other stakeholders are doing and feeding it to our process in one coherent place. In terms of Mr. Gordon and Mr. Pillay, your query around opportunities and support for local government and municipalities, I think it's critical to note that we did give a bit of a, I would say, understanding where the domestic demand could be located. I think the Hydrogen Valley, I think between 40 and 80% of the domestic demand in South Africa is placed within that corridor. And the reason why we're doing it is because if you get economies of scale with consumption and production, you actually bring your costs down. There is support from municipalities, but I think the Hydrogen Society Roadmap features how other government departments, DTIC, DMRE, so forth, will work together with provincial governments to make these things happen. So I think the understanding around the full opportunities, we're still unpacking in full detail. There was a student who asked a question about the skills. I think Manda Lake, you said, proud, happy that you're doing work in the technical sector. In terms of the skills we need, we need skills, all types of engineers. If you're talking about green hydrogen production, you need water. Water resource engineers are going to be critical, especially given that South Africa is a water scarce country. Electrical engineers, chemical engineers, electricians. I would say for every one engineer we have, we probably need about 10 technicians or graduates from with national diplomas. So currently, we really need to massively upscale. This is why we're focusing so much on the TVET college system and University Technology system, because we probably need more graduates from those programs or those colleges than we do from universities. In terms of the framework for hydrogen skills program, one of the key actions of the program of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap is the development of a skills development plan. And I will honestly say I've worked with the colleagues in DHET, during the midst of COVID, while people were getting infected with COVID, they actually, in partnership with us, put in place a skills development program or reskilling program for students from TVET and University of Technology to operate and maintain fuel cells. And some of those graduates are actually working today successfully. So skills development plan is one of the first actions that will be taken, and actually making sure we can scale up, especially over the next 12 to 24 months, will be critical for the jobs expected to come into the economy in 2024. Ayanda, I think you had a question really around the opportunity to support OEM engagement. I think that in terms of the roadmap, I think the minister said it very clearly. This is the first step. First step is to release a report and then really start having those deep engagements necessary so that we can ensure that we create an enabling environment, but also where we can get shovel projects up and ready to go. What support do you need as global OEMs or private sector to make it happen? And then I think Mohammed, I'll leave that question for Dr. Chiteme as well as for any questions I may have missed.
Dr. Chiteme, very briefly, 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you, DDG, and thank you, Rebecca. Unfortunately, I actually missed the question that Mohammed asked. Could I just be refreshed on that? My apologies for that.
No, I can take that question, but I think Mohammed's question was really around the issue of just energy transition and making sure there's proper policy coordination between the different government departments.
That's fine, Rebecca, I can take it. Thanks a lot, Mohammed, for that question. I think the minister alluded to the core CO2 to X project, where we are looking at taking the flue gas from coal-fired power stations and really combining that with green hydrogen to make value-added products such as sulfuric acid, green ammonia, and fertilizer salts. We believe that such a project has got very important implications in terms of emissions reduction, but also leveraging on existing facilities with regards to making sure that we use our existing assets for longer without a negative impact on the environment. But products such as sulfuric acid are also important in the hydrogen production process, where sulfuric acid will actually be used as part of the electrolysis process for green hydrogen production. But more importantly, if we use those existing assets for longer and create new industries around the green ammonia and fertilizer production processes, we can then create new industries around areas like Mpumalanga, where our coal-fired power stations are concentrated, but also looking at other regions such as Sasolburg and the Bojanala district in the Northwest province or in parts of Limpopo. So we believe that the core CO2 to X program will address issues of just energy transition in that regard. Thanks, DDG.
Okay, thanks very much. I have to take one question and we close because it's gonna be 4 o'clock. And I'm taking this because the hand was up a long time ago. Thomas Ross, if you can very briefly get your question and then we can get it answered and we close.
Thank you very much, DDG. I have two questions. One is we have heard about the possibilities for Sasol, which are very encouraging. But of course, Sasol is not the only Fischer-Tropsch facility in the country. We have Petro SA, and we saw comments by Seth at the beginning of the webinar. I would like to ask to what extent Petro SA is looking at opportunities of transitioning towards green fuels, either for maritime or for aviation applications. The second question is possibly not fairly addressed at DST, but that is that one of our largest opportunities are sustainable maritime fuels. And the way we get that forward is by green corridors between pairs of ports, as proposed by the signatories of the Clydebank Declaration at COP26. Unfortunately, South Africa is not a signatory to the Clydebank Declaration, which probably implies that some engagement is required from DIRCO and other stakeholders. May we ask how we can move forward to become part of those green corridors? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks very much. We might not be able to answer your second question, but Cosmos, are you ready to take this one?
No, DG, I think in terms, sorry, DDG, I think, no, thanks, Thomas, for your question and query. Yeah, you're correctly so. The Fischer-Tropsch at Sasol is not the only one in the country of Petro's gas to liquids plant. In terms of the inputs, like I said, it was a open process and we took an input that everyone gave us. So I think, Central Energy Fund is looking to move into this direction. I can't really give you the details of what their intentions are. They would probably have to do that for you. But I think, the department has signed an MOU with the Central Energy Fund around the coal CO2 to X program, as well as the hydrogen economy. So we're expecting that in the next coming months that the discussions around this will come to be become very more detailed and more clear. The second question as a program director mentioned, we're not necessarily going to answer today, but we will take it offline.
Okay, thanks very much, Rebecca. I think we are at 4 o'clock now, and I'm going to take this time to hand over to Ms. Trudy Makaya, who is the economic advisor to the president. Trudy has worked this journey a little bit with us, but I have been in some meetings with her where we were not necessarily leading in these engagements, and I know that she quite follows what is happening in this sector. So Trudy, this is over to you to give a vote of thanks and closure, and then we can take whatever people have in terms of questions offline. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Program Director, Dr. Muepe. This has been a very inspirational session and an important milestone in our innovation journey. In response to the pandemic, government crafted the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. The green economy, infrastructure development, and large-scale job creation are important themes of that plan. The hydrogen economy brings these things together in a very powerful way. In this year's State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa challenged us to develop a new consensus on our shared future. And I quote, "A consensus that is born out of a common understanding of our current challenging situation and a recognition of the need to address the challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. This should be a new consensus which recognizes that the state must create an environment in which the private sector can invest and unleash the dynamism of the economy, but equally an environment in which South Africans can live a better life and unleash the energy of their capabilities. This should also be a new consensus which embraces our shared responsibility to one another and acknowledges that we're all in this together," unquote. The president went on to reiterate the important role that the Hydrogen Society Roadmap could play in stimulating economic recovery with major investments in green hydrogen. Like many countries across the globe, South Africa has sought to take this excruciating moment in economic history, where a pandemic threatened to reverse developmental gains, to re-envision the economy's growth trajectory. But as we've heard today, contemporary work on the hydrogen economy in South Africa has been underway for over a decade and a half. We are harvesting the fruit of that work, and as we enter into this phase of what we believe will be significant economic value creation in this sector. We've heard of initiatives that will advance decarbonization and create new opportunities ranging from fuel cell manufacturing, energy-intensive manufacturing, creating an export market for green hydrogen and green ammonia, and many others. South Africa is not the only country chasing leadership in these areas, but our endowments and the foundations we have set over time guarantee us a top spot. President Ramaphosa often asks, where will growth come from? Well, I'm convinced by the analysis presented in the report, which will be shared, and the work I have witnessed over time, that the hydrogen economy will be an important source of economic growth and jobs for the economy. Officials have also told us that they have begun to think about how to include young people, including those in TVET colleges, in attaining quality skills in the hydrogen economy. I'd like to thank the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Nzimande, for leading this pioneering work. Gratitude also goes to the Director General for Science and Innovation, Dr. Mjwara, and his officials. He's certainly one of the veterans of the economics cluster, and we appreciate his leadership in this regard. Thanks to the presentation that was offered to us by Dr. Masirumule and all the other officials that we've engaged with in this process. As Minister Nzimande pointed out, this is a whole of government project. We're thankful for the work that has been conducted by departments from trade and industry, infrastructure, employment, finance, environment, energy, international relations, higher education, amongst others. And also the broader public sector ecosystem that includes science and innovation councils and agencies. Partners in the private sector have been important, especially new entrants in industry. We're excited to see that this is a new industry that begins with transformed businesses playing a very important role in its development, but we're also seeing well-established local champions also playing in this space. International partners are coming to the table, and we also appreciate their support thus far. In crafting the Just Transition Partnership, we've been quite vociferous that our ambitions in terms of green hydrogen should form an important part of what international partners are funding in terms of concessional financing for the Just Transition. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the audience for your attention. I think we can go well. Let's implement, let's execute, let's create value, and let's see the potential of the hydrogen economy being realized. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Trudy. And colleagues, this brings the session to an end. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.